prossimo ospite per
Now
me
then,
è un
our next
ospite
guest.
importante
To me,
perché
is
per colpa
really
sua o per merito suo, non lo so,
very important
ho
guest.
iniziato a entrare nel mondo
Because
internet,
of
faccio
him,
l'imprenditore nel mondo
I
digitale
entered the
e
internet
facevo
world.
l'avvocato, pensavo
I
che
am
studiavo
a
legge
digital
e dovevo fare
businessman. I
l'avvocato
was a
e a un certo
lawyer.
punto
I was
leggo
studying
questo
law.
libro,
And
mi
then
mio zio mi diede questo
I
libro
read
a
a book.
leggere, disse,
My
"Guarda,
uncle
dai
gave it to
un'occhiata
me.
che questo è un libro
And
forte."
he said,
Allora, leggo
look
questo
at
libro,
this
si chiamava
book.
Being Digital,
I read
Essere
this book,
digitali.
Being
Allora,
Digital.
leggo questo libro e penso,
So I read this book and I thought,
c'era tutta la
wow,
previsione nel 98 di quello che sarebbe successo
1998.
oggi. Proprio come dire una sfera di
It
cristallo e vedi
saw
esattamente cosa succede.
what
Allora mi
happened,
ricordo che
what is happening
leggo
today.
questo
It
libro e
was
io
like
dovevo
reading
decidere
a
insomma, se
crystal
fare
ball.
l'avvocato o cambiare,
So
no? Perché
I
vedi,
was reading
uno ti
this
dice il
book and
futuro
then
è
I had to
questo,
decide
arriva
whether
una
I
roba che
was
si
going
chiama
to be a
internet,
lawyer or
cioè
whether I
tutte
wanted
robe
to
così.
change. It was
E allora
talking about the
dico,
internet,
cosa
all
faccio?
these
Cambio
things.
e poi dico,
And then
ma no,
I
non
said,
cambio, faccio
okay,
l'avvocato,
let's change.
tanto
No,
come
I
dire,
said,
sta roba arriverà
let's not
tra
change
una
because
vita.
this
Poi in realtà
will
nel
never happen.
nel
But then,
97 è uscito
in
internet, quindi ha cominciato a
1997,
uscire
the
e lì ho detto,
internet actually
caspita, ci
came
aveva
out.
preso in pieno.
And then I
aveva preso
said,
in pieno.
wow,
Chiaramente internet è uscito prima, ma per
he
la
really
massa,
hit the
no?
spot.
L'internet di massa è uscito poi dopo. E allora da
because
quel
that
punto ho
was
detto, va
not
bene, adesso
mass
cambio, mi
internet.
butto nel mondo
So then I
digital
said,
e
okay,
quindi,
let's change
diciamo,
everything
tutto è
and
nato da
let's
questo
enter the
libro,
digital
di questo
world.
ospite
So this is
incredibile
the
che
book
abbiamo qui
that really
oggi.
triggered
Chiedo davvero
everything.
un
This
applauso
incredible
meraviglioso.
guest,
Nicolas
huge round of
Negroponte.
applause, Nicolas Negroponte.
Hi, Nicolas.
Do you have the clicker?
Yeah, that's for you. That's
Okay.
for you. I'll let you do your presentation. I just want to let you know that I started my digital career because of you. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but after reading Being Digital,
But you're a
that
journalist.
happened. Yeah.
You're a
not.
journalist.
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm a
not.
tech entrepreneur.
You
yeah.
are?
Yeah, but
Well, you do this very well.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll see you later.
Okay. I'm going to be a little different than the previous speakers because I'm not going to show you images. I'm going to tell you about 5 concepts. And if you remember 2 of them, when you leave, I'll be very happy. But let me warn you in advance that you may not agree with them, and some of you might feel slightly insulted. Now, by way of a story, a personal story, when I was in high school, which is too long to remember, most of you weren't born, I did very well in art, and I did very well in mathematics. In fact, I was the best in my class, even in my school, for both. So I went to the headmaster, and I said to the headmaster, look, I'm good in mathematics, and I'm good in art, so obviously I should go study architecture. Now, this headmaster was very smart, and he said something to me which I did not understand for a decade. He said, I like striped suits, and I like gray suits, but I don't like gray striped suits. And I completely missed the point. I studied architecture. I loved it dearly. I practiced sort of in summers. I went back to graduate school, and I discovered that the mixture of art and mathematics was computers. And that computers was that intersection. And so for me, that's how I got started. And again, by just way of personal introduction, probably the only advantage of age is that I have been to the future many times, unlike some younger people. And I say that because I cannot tell you how many times I have said in my life, in 10 years, this will happen. Well, guess what? The 10 years came. And it either happened sooner or later or so on. And then you say, well, in 10 years, this will happen. And when you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and sometimes right, maybe even often right, I might get the timing wrong, but you feel like you've been there. So there are things you see today that are extraordinarily, in my mind, mindless, because it's people who haven't been to the future who are doing it as if there was no past. So I'm going to, first of all, declare, and you don't have to agree, that biotech is the new digital. For those of you who saw a very old movie called The Graduate, where Dustin Hoffman is taken aside and told, young man, go into plastics. Well, plastics in the 1950s was indeed a wonderful area of material science and engineering, and many things evolved. And digital is the plastics of today. Biotech and that whole world is the digital of tomorrow. And we will not just be informed by nature, we will do better than nature. We will do much better than nature. There will eventually be no disease, no disabilities, and in fact, the only spin-out of the Media Lab that I think will get traction is one we're starting right now, which is called the Center for Extreme Bionics. And the faculty doing it are determined to eliminate all human disabilities, mental and physical, and to do that within their lifetimes. They're quite young. We have another faculty member who believes that you can make complex things like motorcycles and automobiles out of one part. Not a few parts, one part. And that part isn't a 3D produced car. That you can do already. You could actually 3D produce a car with wheels and all the rest. It's by dropping a seed into the ground and a car grows. It's by doing it in a very, very different way. And the world of biotech is going to allow us to do things that aren't just traditional biotech and medical tech and so on. I'll give you one last example. I was provoked at a TED talk. I've given 18 TED talks. And they said, prepare for the TED talk. I said, what do you mean prepare for the TED talk? I've never prepared for a TED talk, let alone any talk in my whole life, including this talk. So why am I going to prepare for a TED talk? And they said, well, you've got to give a prediction. I said, I don't give predictions. I just extrapolate. And so finally, after I had used my 18 minutes, and I haven't given a prediction, they pulled me back and they said, you've got to give a prediction. And my prediction, which isn't fantasy, it's actually based on some pretty deep discussions, is that in the future, you will be able to swallow a pill and learn English. Or anything else you want, because the best way to get into the brain is through the bloodstream. The bloodstream gets you basically to every neuron. So whatever you believe of where things live as information, somewhere in your head there is English or a processor that creates English. So clearly I could deposit in the brain at the right locations whatever is necessary. Incrementalism. Incrementalism is the enemy of creativity. And as one of the things that I will be on thin ice is to argue that startup companies are a serious global problem because we have sucked very big talent out of big thinking. The Media Lab graduates 50 students a year. It used to be the case that half of them worked on big problems: fusion, eliminating poverty, working for human purposes that are about the betterment of mankind. And now they're all doing these silly little startups that tend to be apps on iPads and iPhones that flip money, and greed is an element, and doing something fun. But out of the 50 people now, only one goes off and works on a big, hard problem. and we're going to pay a price for that going forward. Competition. Competition is the root of almost all evil. Education in this world, and I assume Italy has the same problem, but I'll speak to the United States and speak to countries like China, Japan, and places that I know better. We have turned learning into a competition, and parents are complicit. Stop testing. Stop killing children with tests, because what you know doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's funny. It's always funny where you get the applauses, but and I'll give you a piece of evidence. In most of the world where they measure, and I hate measurement, if you have to measure an effect, it means it was too small. Self-evidence is the best measure. But if you do measure education, it turns out that Finland is at the top of the list almost every year, but by a long shot. It's not, just at the top. This number, the others are quite far behind. In Finland, kindergarten to first grade, no tests, none. No homework, none. Shortest days per year, shortest hours per day. You say, wait a minute. How can they have the best? They have none of the things. We want more tests, longer days, all these things. And the reason it's so good is because there's no competition. The kids collaborate. Learning is collaborative. Competition, especially between countries, is a sick concept. And it's at the root of a lot of evils. Now, missions versus markets. This is slightly more complicated because a mission is very different than a market. And most people don't understand the difference. And doing good as a corporation for genuine reasons actually is not what's going to help the world. Yes, if everybody's better, politer, and does things that are, quote, good, that, yes, would make a better place. But if your mission is education, then you have to, as a part of civic society, make it better. And what irritates me the most, in fact, I was in a room, in a meeting recently, where everybody in the room believed that people fell in two categories. There were entrepreneurs and there were philanthropists. Now, the entrepreneurs can be executives of big companies. The philanthropists could be doing little NGOs or running big foundations. And I said to them, you're crazy. You have eliminated a third group, which is not a charity, it's not an entrepreneur, it is civil servants. And there's nobody in this room that has advocated to their children to go into civil society. There is nobody who thinks of it as a great thing to do, and yet civil society is what we really depend on. And when I wake up in the morning, I ask myself one question. Will normal market forces do what I am doing today? And if the answer is yes, then don't do it. I don't need to do it if normal market forces are going to do it. I need to do what normal market forces won't do. So let me end on my current pet project. I believe that connectivity, and I really should say access, because you may not have to be connected to somebody, but you need access, and it might be a more general word. But you need it not as a service that is an opportunity for a corporation. You need it as part of human rights, or at least a civic responsibility. Think of this for a second. You walk out the door after this meeting, and you're going to step on a sidewalk. The business model of sidewalks is not return on investment where you pay to walk down the sidewalk. A rich person walks down it, a poor person walks down it. And you depend on civic society for it to be clean, for it to be smooth, for it to be beautiful. You don't pay for it in a direct way. Guess what? You pay for it through what are called taxes. And that's part of civic society. And yet to connect to the internet, you have to pay for it, and it's not like a road. Well, it didn't used to be like a road. It used to be more like electricity or other things. The more you consume, the more you pay. But that's the past. And particularly in the developing world, the future is to make that part of civil society. And I'm working very hard as I can to do that, but my problem is that it has been such a successful business. If you look at the 10 richest people in the world, look at them and count how many made that from telecommunications. It's a very profitable business. The Bangladesh telephone company, cell phone company, had $2 billion of income last year. $1 billion was profit. Where did the profit go? The profit went back to the shareholders. Very little went back into the network. And we may have to rethink what can be done in the public sector and not always assume that the public sector can't do anything. And if you think the public sector can't do anything, ride a train in Switzerland. In Japan, the Shinkansen total lateness of all the trains combined over 1 year was 18 seconds. Okay. You can run things if you put your mind to it as part of civil society. So I will end with that, and maybe in the Q&A you can devastate it. Oh, come on.
You know what's amazing for me, honestly. It's 18 years now that I'm doing stuff online, and I did interview so many people, as you know. I mean, you were also my guest in my television show on Sky News, and this was one of the most inspiring talk, guys, that I ever heard in my recent years. Honestly, it was.
Oh, well, okay.
Just real quick in Italian.
Okay.
Ne ha dette un paio adesso, io non voglio dire.
Well, he said a couple of things that
Mangi una pillolina e impari
Well, he said,
l'inglese tra poco. Quindi
you swallow a
lui ha
pill
detto
and
che
you will learn
poi
English.
prendi un seme, lo metti giù e
Then
viene
you
fuori
get a
un'automobile.
seed, you plant it,
Quando
and
ha
you get a
scritto
car.
Digital, diceva solo
When he
cose
wrote
così, e
Being
molti
Digital,
secondo me
he was
pensavano,
writing
capito,
things
che-
like that,
che fosse
and
un po'-
many people thought that
un po'
he was
pazzo. Però la
he
verità è che
was
questi sono veramente,
rather
quindi metterei
crazy.
molto
But then
volentieri.
everything
Vai, Nicolas, join me, please.
became reality. So
Let's check a few questions. We just a few minutes, and then we almost at the end of the event. Okay. If you give me a few questions for Nicolas. So, which is the most exciting development in transportation? First, Nicolas, can I ask you a very stupid and curious question?
Yes.
I love your shoes. They are amazing. I never saw. And what kind of shoes are not
on.
like mine?
Come on. It's Prada.
Okay, well, but what's is a mix between a sport shoe and a classic shoe? Okay.
I have little motors inside them.
Okay. No, really. Have you ever worn? I've never seen any issue like that. Okay, cool. Sorry, it was
It's
my
okay.
stupid curiosity. So, which is the most exciting development in transportation?
Oh, depends how you measure excitement. I was Dean Kamen's first investor in the Segway, and I lost all my money. So that's exciting, I guess. I think perhaps the most exciting things have to do with not having to move. In fact, I find it's possible now to not move in cases where I used to have to move. And I sort of think of those as pretty exciting.
All right. So moving without moving, basically something like that.
It's moving without motion.
All right. Wow, that's also I have to process now this topic, guys. Okay, good. Next question. Very interesting. Why did Segway didn't work? Because it sounded like a great idea, also for mobility. I mean, I don't understand why it failed. By the way,
It's a long story.
Okay. Nicholas, in your life, we have a very educated audience, you see. They tweet with your name. I love it. Great challenges, insights, successes, and amazing risks. What surprises you? Wow.
Oh, my goodness. I guess what surprises me the most is the degree to which people are risk adverse, and particularly parents.
Okay.
It used to be, as recently as 10 years ago, that if your child went to art school, you would look at your spouse and say, oh, what did we do wrong? Okay. And that's changing. Business school is dead. It's on the way out. It'll be gone.
Let me explain to the business school students here.
Well, art school, if there are business school students here, I'm sorry for you.
Except Bocconi, all the others.
I don't care which business school. Design school and art school are going up.
Okay.
And the business people want the designers. They want the people who have the best kind of vision. And the best vision is peripheral vision, not foveal vision. And you get foveal vision at business school, and you get peripheral vision at design school. That's being a little simplistic. But.
Right. So is basically the same as when you say a like an expert generalist, not to be focused only on one thing, but to have a view, different angles, different.
Yes, we call it being anti-disciplinary.
Okay, right. Follow me down there. I want the people down there to see you. Can you give me the next questions? Okay. The challenge is to connect the last billion people. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Why? How this will impact on innovation and entrepreneurship? I remember in Tunisia 1 year you were presenting the one laptop per child. By the way, amazing project. It's a project to connect all the children in places where there is no connection. Super. And how is it going? How is it progressing?
Well, I've been out of it for about 3 years.
Okay.
There are, when I last looked, about 50 million laptops in the hands of children who would have never gotten them.
Wow.
We produced only 3 million of those,
Okay.
sort of the first 3 million. But then we did something. I would go to the governments and I would say, launch a bid for 1 million laptops for Brazil or for Thailand or wherever. And I will bid, and we figured out what we could. I'll bid $150. But more importantly, I would leak my bid to the press.
Okay.
So everybody would know how much I'm bidding, and so they had to bid lower.
Okay, cool.
And so it brought the price way down. And the answer to the question on the screen is really easy when you substitute the word connect with the word educate or learning or some word that elevates society. And the impact, whether it's innovation, entrepreneurship, population growth, environmental, you name it, they're all impacted. So the tool to impact any big problem, elimination of poverty, I mean, you name the problem, and I promise you that education is a piece of the solution, and in some cases, it may even be the total solution.
Okay, got it. Let's see, maybe a final question, if you have one more minute. By the way, Nicholas, I'm curious about how, you think in a different way, you know. My mind is not working like your mind, so I'm curious, how do you develop this way of seeing problems with such a broad vision, or to see, okay, in 20 years will happen this? What would you suggest?
Well, if I had to do everything all over again, I would still go to architecture school.
Okay.
And I think architecture prepares you to look very widely. The term problem solving makes me sick. Who cares about problem solving? What I care about, and as architects do, where are you? There he is. We care about question asking. And we very often say, well, that's actually not the problem. The problem is something else. And then the problem's something else. So problem solvers are narrow people that solve problems.
Sure.
And I enjoyed, through architecture and other means, and then I also had, by complete chance, out of my control, I was born to a family that was historically rich, educationally rich. We lived a very interesting, multicultural life. So I'm kind of the opposite story. You hear so many people who went from, poverty to wealth. I came from wealth, and I didn't have to aspire. We're four brothers, and none of us went into business. Right. None of us went into business. One's a civil servant, one's a filmmaker, one's a painter. So our parents put something in the water that said, you don't have to go and do something commercial. You can do something, and by the way, after the age of 25, I never received a penny from my parents. Okay. On my 30th birthday, I got a $500 check, but it was the illusion of wealth and the fact that you could, and then confidence. Confidence, if you can give your children confidence,
they'll find a way.
There's nothing else.
Got it. I like it. Maybe final question. No, we ran out of time. Okay, that was really, really inspiring. Nicholas, follow me here, because I would like now to end the event by calling all the speakers on stage. Come on. Do we have one more? Wait. We have one more minute for a final question for Nicholas. Yes or no? You want a final question for Nicholas? Yes or no? All right, come on. All right, individuality is what society breeds, but we are dependent on each other yet. How to bring back collectivism? Just a small question.
No, it's a very good question, and if individuality is created at the expense of collaboration, then you're in trouble. But individuality need not be at that expense, and we can become a collaborative society. You may know I am 100% Greek, even though I have an Italian name. By 100%, I mean grandparents, great-grandparents, forever. And Greece is a country that's not collaborative, and that's one of the reasons it's having economic problems. The United States is a little bit more collaborative, but greed has gotten into the way. So it's not clear what's going to happen to the collective good. When you look, I just want to make one last comment, which is so important, I'm not sure why I forgot it before. But if you look at these lists that they make each year, which you may not believe in, I don't really believe in them, but the richest country, the happiest country, the most productive country, and they have these lists.
Top chart, yeah.
There's a chart each year, and different countries win and so on. For the past 10 or 20 years, at least since I've been looking at them, out of the top 10 countries, 8 are socialist countries. Think about that. 8 of those countries are socialist countries. And the happiest countries in the world are using something which in the United States, when I tell people I'm a socialist, which I am, they don't know the difference between that and a communist. Okay. In other words, they don't see it as part of a mission to elevate society and to work as a unified entity for the well-being of everybody. And I think that you can be an individualist in a very socialist society.
All right, got it. Nicholas, just follow me. By the way, when...
That's what you said last time.
Yes, yeah. I'll try again, because
okay.
every time I would like to ask you something more, but
okay.
it's over. When the event is over now, I'll go around and say that there will be a pill that you can eat and learn a language. Is it true? I mean, otherwise everyone will say, Marco, it's not true.
No, it's definitely true. But will it happen in 15 years or in 30 years? And, you know, those are the questions. Like, when will autonomous vehicles happen?
Right.
Not before 5, but not more than 10. So you have a 5-10-year window that'll happen for sure. The pill I'm talking about is more 15 to 30-year window. And
all right, that's very interesting. All right, so I would like to call on stage all the speakers. Please give them a big round of applause. Jeffrey Schnapp. Then we have, all right, Greg Lean, Sasha Hoffman, Beth Altringer. Just come here. 1, 2, 3. Doug Brandt. Roberto Colaninno.
You should be in the center.
And by the way, Roberto, I saw here...
I have a friend to introduce to you, if allowed to me.
Ok, c'è un amico di Roberto. Who we have here? Okay. Jeff Linnell from Google. Big round of applause. Come here 1 second with me. So, Jeff is in the advisory board, right?
Sì.
So, advisory board of Piaggio Fast Forward. And by the way, you know, guys, when I said Gravity movie, the inventor of technology, guess who is? It's this man, you know, is the guy. Stunning project. Just, you know, Jeff, just what's exciting, what's the most exciting technology for you in mobility in the next years? Just curious about that.
That's interesting. I actually think it's not an exciting technology. I think it's the combination of a lot of technologies right now where we're at. It's sort of the confluence of sensor technologies that allow us to do things like autonomy, the idea of advanced materials where we have composites where we can make a chair that can hold 3,000 pounds but weighs 6 ounces. 2,000. Oh, I'm propping you up. So, you know, there's a lot going on technically at the moment. We've also got some interesting aspects societally where we've got a sharing economy where we can leverage higher value assets that we can all use together and have them at exactly the right time and the right place in a frictionless way. So I think it's the mixture of all these things that are coming together that actually gives us tremendous opportunity. Electric vehicles, low emissions. We've got lithium-ion power with power to weight ratios that are radical. We have cars that can do 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. It's in some ways this is democratization of extreme joy, depending on whether that you enjoy that or not. I certainly do. So I think it's actually the combination of what's going on in society and the technologies that are creating this focal point at the moment to really do something that is evolutionary and not merely incremental in mobility.
Got it. Very good, Jeff. Is any secret thing that you're working at Google that you can tell us? Come on, no one is listening, just this.
Secret.
Okay. All right, Jeff Linden, thank you so much, Jeff. And a final ultimo avviso in italiano. Abbiamo predisposto un muro.
Okay, we have prepared a wall. You see it there. It's the fast forward idea, and you have post-its such as the one that you see here. And we invite everybody to leave your feedback, leave your idea, leave your comment on the event in a very open manner. And then maybe we can all take a picture together, or I'll offer you a digital coffee. So you will find all of the post-it there, and so the floor is yours, Roberto, to close the event.
Abbiamo in concreto
I think that in concrete terms we have shown what we want to do, what we can do, a group of extraordinary brains working together on the basis of their convictions of how the future will be. Starting off from reflections, thoughts which are based on culture, which lay their foundations on knowledge, on experience, on risk-taking, also on open-mindedness, on the fact of being, in a certain way, different from mere individuality. We want to be together, we want to put everything together, because the value of this being together is really enormous. Thank you very much, Mr. Colaninno. We have finished, but before closing, I wanted to devote to all of you who have been with us until the end a round of applause and good luck for everything. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Thank you.